Welcome to Empathy Stories, where we delve into heartfelt narratives that inspire and connect us all. Today, we bring you the remarkable journey of Sarah Mitchell, a dedicated aviation CEO who faced unexpected prejudice and transformed it into a powerful movement for change. Let's embark on her story of resilience and compassion. The golden hues of the California sunset cast a warm glow over Los Angeles International Airport as I pulled up in my modest Honda Accord. At 38, I had navigated the tumultuous waters of a failed marriage and the persistent shadow of infertility. Yet here I stood, on the precipice of a new beginning. The gleaming private terminals, usually a realm reserved for the affluent, felt both inviting and intimidating today. This old but sturdy structure, with its polished glass and sleek lines, was now mine, a tangible symbol of the fresh start I had so desperately sought. Stepping out of my car, I took a deep breath, savoring the crisp evening air that carried the faint scent of jet fuel and distant ocean breezes. My attire was deliberately simple: black pants, a casual blue blouse, and practical walking shoes. Comfort had always been my mantra, a stark contrast to the flashy designer clothes that adorned so many around me. I believed that true success wasn't measured by outward appearances, but by the integrity and dedication one brought to their work and relationships. As I approached the entrance of Mitchell Aviation, the soft glow of security lights highlighted the pristine white Gulfstream G650 parked on the tarmac. Its dark blue logo, a personal touch I had chosen upon acquiring the company 5 years ago, gleamed under the twilight sky. This aircraft was more than just a symbol of business success. It represented the culmination of 15 years of relentless hard work, perseverance, and an unwavering commitment to building something meaningful. Inside the terminal, the atmosphere buzzed with the energy of high-profile executives and their entourages. Luxury cars like Mercedes, Bentleys, and Ferraris lined the parking lot, their polished exteriors a stark contrast to my unassuming Honda. Yet, I felt no envy. Growing up in a working-class family in Atlanta had instilled in me the value of money and the importance of investing in people rather than possessions. Every decision I made, from driving myself to the terminal to wearing practical attire, was a testament to those deeply ingrained values. As I walked through the expansive glass doors, memories of my early days at Mitchell Aviation flooded my mind. I had started as a junior accountant, poring over spreadsheets and dreaming of the day I could lead the company I now owned. The climb had been arduous, marked by sleepless nights and countless sacrifices. But each step forward had been fueled by a desire to create a legacy built on trust, respect, and excellence. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother, reminding me of our weekly Sunday dinner in Atlanta. These gatherings were a cherished tradition, a beacon of stability amidst the chaos of my professional life. Despite the demands of running a large aviation company, I never missed an opportunity to reconnect with my family, grounding myself in the love and support that had carried me through my darkest times. As I approached the boarding area, I couldn't help but smile, reflecting on how far I had come. The terminal, now illuminated by the soft glow of evening lights, seemed to welcome me with open arms. I thought about the countless passengers who walked these halls daily, each with their own stories and dreams. Yet, here I was, the woman behind the glossy advertisements and the trusted name in private aviation, choosing to remain humble and approachable. Taking a moment to appreciate the view, I gazed out at the runway, where planes took off and landed. Each departure and arrival a metaphor for life's constant ebb and flow. The distant rumble of engines and the bustling movement of ground crew members reminded me why I had fallen in love with aviation in the first place. The promise of new horizons and the thrill of connecting people from all walks of life. With a final deep breath, I adjusted my simple black suitcase and made my way to the boarding gate. Today marked not just the end of a long week, but the continuation of a journey defined by resilience, love, and the unwavering pursuit of a life well lived. As I boarded my private jet, I carried with me the lessons of the past and the hopeful anticipation of what the future would bring. As I approached the sleek glass doors of the private terminal, the familiar hum of activity surrounded me. Executives in tailored suits hurried past, their designer luggage wheeled by attentive assistants. The soft glow of the overhead lights cast a warm ambience, contrasting with the cool evening air outside. Clutching my simple black suitcase and laptop bag, I felt a quiet contentment. Despite the opulence around me, I was grounded in who I was and how far I had come. Just as I reached for my ID and access card, a stern voice halted me. "Excuse me, ma'am," the security guard said firmly, raising his hand in a stopping motion. His name tag read Richard Cooper, and his uniform was crisp, almost freshly pressed. The main terminal's cleaning staff entrance is on the other side of the airport. This area is restricted for private aviation clients. Taken aback, I offered a polite smile. "I appreciate your diligence, but I'm actually here to board my flight," I replied calmly, extending my ID toward him. "If you'd like to see." He cut me off abruptly. "Ma'am, I've worked in security for many years," he declared, his tone edged with condescension. "I know who belongs here and who doesn't. The cleaning crew needs to use the proper entrance. I can't have you wandering around disturbing our high-profile clients." A few passengers nearby glanced over, sensing the tension. I felt a flush of warmth rise to my cheeks, not from embarrassment, but from the familiar sting of being misjudged. Maintaining my composure, I tried again. "I assure you, I'm a passenger scheduled for the 7:30 flight. Please, if you'll just look at my identification." His eyes narrowed as he leaned closer. "Listen, I won't ask again. If you don't leave immediately, I'll have to call security backup or even the police." A small crowd began to gather, whispers spreading like ripples in a pond. Some passengers pulled out their phones, discreetly recording the exchange. The weight of their gazes pressed upon me, but I remained steadfast. Years of navigating a male-dominated industry had taught me patience and the importance of grace under pressure. "Mr. Cooper," I said, reading his name tag deliberately. "I respect that you're doing your job, but there's been a misunderstanding. I'm Sarah Mitchell." "And," he interrupted once more, raising his voice, "I don't need to hear any excuses. You're holding up the area and causing a disturbance. Please leave now." At that moment, I noticed Mr. Thompson, the terminal manager, hurrying toward us, his expression a mix of concern and disbelief. Before he could reach us, Richard Cooper stepped forward, his hand moving toward his radio. "Security backup needed at the main entrance," he spoke into it. Eyes still fixed on me, I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of frustration and empathy. Clearly, he was making assumptions based on my appearance, assumptions that many had made before him. But reacting with anger wouldn't help. Instead, I chose a different approach. "Mr. Cooper," I began gently, "I understand that you're committed to maintaining security here. It's an important responsibility, but sometimes we can make mistakes when we rely solely on appearances." He hesitated for a moment, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "What are you implying?" he asked defensively. Before I could respond, Mr. Thompson arrived, slightly out of breath. "Ms. Mitchell, is everything all right?" he asked urgently. Richard glanced between us, confusion clouding his features. "Wait, you know her?" he questioned. "Yes, of course," Mr. Thompson replied, his tone indicating that the answer should have been obvious. "Ms. Mitchell is the owner and CEO of Mitchell Aviation." A hush fell over the surrounding onlookers. Richard's face paled as realization dawned. I didn't realize," he stammered. "I thought." I offered a reassuring smile. "It's all right, Mr. Cooper. We all make mistakes. Perhaps this can be a learning experience." He looked genuinely remorseful, his earlier bravado replaced with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Mitchell. I shouldn't have assumed." I nodded gently. Assumptions can lead us astray. What's important is that we recognize them and strive to do better. The crowd began to disperse, some people offering me sympathetic smiles, others casting disapproving glances at Richard. The tension eased, replaced by a contemplative silence. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. Again, my deepest apologies for this misunderstanding. Is there anything I can do? Thank you, Mr. Thompson, I replied, but I think everything's fine now. I appreciate your prompt attention. Turning back to Richard, I added, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning in my office at 9 a.m. We can discuss how to improve our customer service protocols. He nodded meekly. Yes, of course. I'll be there. As I made my way toward the boarding area, I couldn't help but reflect on the encounter. It wasn't the first time I'd faced such prejudice, and it likely wouldn't be the last. But each instance offered an opportunity for me to exercise patience and for others to confront their biases. The emotions swirling within me were complex, a mix of disappointment, empathy, and a renewed commitment to fostering change. I believed in leading by example, in turning moments of discord into chances for growth. Boarding my flight, I settled into my seat and gazed out the window as the city's lights began to twinkle below. The path to progress was often strewn with obstacles, but with understanding and compassion, I knew we could navigate them. After all, it was through these challenges that we discovered the profound lessons life had to offer, lessons about humility, respect, and the enduring power of empathy. The air inside the private terminal had been thick with tension, the murmur of onlookers buzzing like restless bees. As Richard Cooper stood frozen, his initial confidence dissolved into a puddle of confusion and embarrassment. I could feel the weight of every pair of eyes on us. The sleek glass walls that had once symbolized success now reflected a scene of human frailty and misunderstanding. Mr. Thompson, our diligent terminal manager, approached swiftly, his usually composed demeanor now edged with urgency. Ms. Mitchell, he began, his voice tinged with concern. We need to address this immediately. Cooper, still clutching his fallen radio, glanced between us with wide, bewildered eyes. I didn't realize, he stammered, his bravado completely stripped away. I took a deep breath, allowing myself a moment to steady my emotions before responding. Richard, I understand that you were just doing your job, I said gently, choosing my words with care. But assumptions based on appearances are never fair or accurate. The crowd around us began to murmur, some nodding in agreement, while others shook their heads in silent disapproval of Cooper's actions. My phone buzzed again, but I chose to ignore it, focusing instead on the unfolding reality before me. Mr. Thompson stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on Cooper's shoulder. Richard, you need to understand the gravity of your mistake. Ms. Mitchell is not only a passenger, but the very person responsible for this entire operation. A collective gasp rippled through the onlookers, the realization dawning on Cooper like a harsh winter frost. He looked down at his uniform, then back at me, his face paling. Sarah Mitchell, he whispered, the name barely audible. Before he could finish, another voice cut through the tension. This is absolutely unacceptable. Jonathan Reed, a prominent businessman in the crowd, interjected, his tone stern. How could you treat the owner of Mitchell Aviation with such disrespect? Cooper's eyes darted around, searching for an escape that wasn't there. I thought you didn't belong here, he managed to say, his voice cracking under the strain of embarrassment and shame. I held up my ID and company ownership papers once more, ensuring everyone could see the legitimacy of my position. Richard, I built this company from the ground up. Every plane, every policy, every decision is a reflection of my commitment and hard work. You have no right to judge me based on how I dress or the car I drive. Silence enveloped the terminal, the only sound being the distant hum of engines preparing for the next flight. Cooper stood motionless, the reality of his actions sinking in. He had misjudged not only me, but the very essence of what leadership and integrity stand for. Mr. Thompson intervened once more, his voice firm yet compassionate. Richard, I believe a meeting is in order. This incident cannot be taken lightly, and it requires immediate attention. As Cooper nodded reluctantly, still reeling from the revelation, the crowd began to disperse. some offering sympathetic nods and others shaking their heads in disappointment. I felt a mixture of relief and sorrow, knowing that this encounter could have been far more damaging if not for the timely intervention of those around us. Turning back to Mr. Thompson, I offered a composed smile. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I appreciate your support." He gave a reassuring nod before departing to handle the aftermath. Cooper remained standing, his posture slumped and his face etched with regret. "I'm truly sorry, Ms. Mitchell," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I had no idea." I approached him slowly, extending a hand in a gesture of forgiveness. "Richard, I understand that you were acting on assumptions. Let's use this as a learning opportunity for everyone involved." He looked up, meeting my gaze with newfound humility. "Yes, I would like that," he admitted, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine remorse. As I made my way toward the boarding gate, the reality of the situation settled around me like a comforting blanket. Leadership wasn't just about guiding a company or making strategic decisions. It was also about fostering understanding, challenging prejudices, and transforming moments of conflict into opportunities for growth. Sitting in my private jet, I gazed out at the city lights below, reflecting on the profound lessons learned from today's ordeal. It wasn't just about proving my worth or maintaining control. It was about standing up against injustice and setting a precedent for respect and equality within the aviation industry. The incident had ignited a spark, one that I was determined to nurture into a beacon of change, ensuring that no one else would face the same prejudices I had encountered. As the plane prepared for takeoff, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but with resilience, empathy, and unwavering determination, I knew that positive transformation was not only possible, but inevitable. Today was a reminder that true leadership lies not in authority, but in the ability to inspire and uplift those around us, paving the way for a more inclusive and respectful future. The following morning dawned clear and bright, a stark contrast to the tumultuous emotions that lingered from yesterday's encounter. As I entered the polished confines of my office at Mitchell Aviation Headquarters, I felt a sense of calm resolve wash over me. The incident with Richard Cooper had not only shaken him, but had also illuminated a pervasive issue within our industry: prejudice and unconscious bias that could undermine the very fabric of our professional environments. Richard Cooper sat nervously in the waiting area, his posture rigid and eyes downcast. The anticipation in the air was palpable, a silent acknowledgement that this meeting would determine the next chapter of his career and potentially reshape our company's approach to diversity and inclusion. I motioned for him to take a seat across from me, extending a hand in a gesture of understanding rather than reprimand. "Richard," I began, my voice steady yet compassionate, "thank you for coming in today. I understand that yesterday was difficult, and I appreciate your willingness to discuss it further." He nodded slowly, his fingers nervously tapping the armrest. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm truly sorry for how I handled the situation. I let my assumptions cloud my judgment, and I regret that deeply." I leaned forward, meeting his gaze with empathy. "Richard, mistakes are part of being human. What's important is how we respond and learn from them. Yesterday was a moment of failure, but it doesn't have to define you or our company." His eyes met mine, searching for reassurance. "What can I do to make this right?" I reached into my desk drawer and retrieved a neatly bound binder labeled Inclusive Excellence Program. "I've been thinking a lot about how we can prevent incidents like yesterday from happening again. I want to develop a comprehensive training program focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Your firsthand experience, despite its unfortunate nature, could provide invaluable insights into the areas we need to address." Richard looked surprised, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "You're not going to fire me?" I shook my head gently. "No, Richard. Instead of seeing yesterday as a mere mistake, I want to view it as an opportunity for growth for both you and our entire team. This program will include real-world scenarios, personal stories, and practical guidance on recognizing and overcoming unconscious biases. Your participation would not only help shape the curriculum, but also demonstrate our commitment to fostering an inclusive workplace. He took a deep breath, absorbing the magnitude of the offer. I would be honored to help. Ms. Mitchell, I want to make amends and ensure that no one else feels the way I made you feel. A sense of relief and optimism filled the room. That's wonderful to hear. Richard, we all have room to grow, and your willingness to engage in this process speaks volumes about your character. Let's work together to create a culture where everyone is respected and valued, regardless of their appearance or background. As we delved into the details of the program, I could see Richard's transformation from a disgruntled security guard to a dedicated advocate for change. His initial defensiveness gave way to a genuine desire to improve, reflecting the core values that Mitchell Aviation stood for: integrity, respect, and excellence. Over the next few weeks, Richard immersed himself in the development of the Inclusive Excellence Program. We held numerous meetings, brainstorming sessions, and workshops to identify the key areas that needed attention. His insights, born from his own mistakes, were instrumental in shaping the program's framework. Together, we crafted modules that address common biases, effective communication strategies, and the importance of empathy in customer interactions. The process was both challenging and rewarding. It required us to confront uncomfortable truths and acknowledge the imperfections within our organization. However, the shared commitment to making meaningful change fostered a sense of unity and purpose that transcended individual roles. One evening, as we reviewed the final draft of the program, Richard looked up with a reflective smile. I never imagined that my actions could lead to something so impactful. Thank you for giving me this chance, Sarah. I returned his smile, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. Thank you, Richard. Your willingness to learn and grow is what makes this program truly special. Together, we can ensure that Mitchell Aviation not only excels in business, but also stands as a beacon of inclusivity and respect in the aviation industry. As he left the office that night, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The journey toward a more inclusive workplace had begun, and with dedicated individuals like Richard on board, I was confident that we could create lasting, positive change. The lessons learned from yesterday's confrontation were now paving the way for a brighter, more harmonious future for everyone at Mitchell Aviation. Months had passed since that pivotal meeting with Richard Cooper, and the transformation within Mitchell Aviation was nothing short of remarkable. The Inclusive Excellence Program, born out of a moment of misunderstanding and fueled by compassion, had become the cornerstone of our company's culture. Richard, once a symbol of prejudice, had emerged as a passionate advocate for change, his journey a testament to the power of forgiveness and growth. Every morning, the training sessions began with Richard sharing his story, the day he mistook Sarah Mitchell for someone else, the embarrassment he felt, and the profound lessons he learned about bias and humility. His honesty resonated deeply with our employees, fostering an environment of openness and mutual respect. As I watched Richard speak, I felt a surge of pride and hope. This program was more than just a set of guidelines. It was a living, breathing initiative that was reshaping minds and hearts. The impact of the Inclusive Excellence Program was evident in every facet of our operations. Passenger complaints about security procedures had plummeted by 70%, a statistic that spoke volumes about the effectiveness of our training. Customer satisfaction soared by 45%, as clients began to appreciate the respectful and equitable treatment they received from our staff. These numbers were not just metrics on a spreadsheet. They were reflections of the positive changes we had instilled within our company. Word of our success began to spread beyond the walls of Mitchell Aviation. Industry leaders reached out, eager to learn about our approach and implement similar programs within their own organizations. Invitations to speak at conferences and participate in panel discussions became frequent. Each opportunity a chance to advocate for a more inclusive and respectful aviation industry. 6 months after the initial incident, I found myself standing on the grand stage of a national aviation industry conference in Chicago. The grand ballroom was abuzz with over 500 industry leaders, all eager to hear about the groundbreaking changes happening at Mitchell Aviation. As I looked out at the sea of attentive faces, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment and responsibility. This was not just my story, it was a shared journey toward a more equitable future. Good morning, everyone. I began, my voice steady with conviction. Today, I want to share with you how a single moment of misunderstanding transformed our company and set a precedent for the entire aviation industry. I clicked the remote, and a slide displaying Richard Cooper's name and photo appeared on the screen. At the center of our transformation was Richard Cooper. I continued. What could have been a moment of conflict became an opportunity for growth and education. Richard's willingness to learn and his dedication to fostering change exemplify the essence of our Inclusive Excellence program. I gestured to the stage where Richard stood, now a confident and inspiring presence. Richard has become a key facilitator of our training program, sharing his personal journey to help others recognize and overcome their unconscious biases. His story is a powerful reminder that change is possible, even in the face of our deepest prejudices. The audience listened intently as I detailed the program's components, real-world scenarios, personal stories, and practical guidance on equitable customer service. I highlighted the tangible improvements in our company's performance metrics and shared testimonials from satisfied clients who had noticed the positive changes. As I concluded my speech, I invited Richard to join me on stage. The applause that followed was not just for our success, but for the message of hope and transformation we were spreading. Richard stood beside me, his eyes shining with pride and gratitude. Together, we demonstrated that true leadership lies in the ability to inspire and uplift others, turning personal setbacks into collective progress. The conference was a turning point, solidifying our role as pioneers of inclusive practices within the aviation industry. Other companies began adopting our training programs, creating a ripple effect that promised to eradicate prejudice and foster a culture of respect and equality across the sector. As I stepped off the stage, surrounded by colleagues and industry leaders eager to collaborate, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The journey had been challenging, filled with moments of doubt and triumph. But the lessons learned had forged a path toward a brighter, more inclusive future. Mitchell Aviation was no longer just a leader in private jet charters. It was a beacon of positive change, illuminating the skies with the promise of empathy, understanding, and unwavering respect for all. Thank you for joining us on Empathy Stories. Sarah Mitchell's journey reminds us of the profound impact empathy and determination can have in overcoming adversity. If her story moved you, please give us a thumbs up, share this video, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Together, we can foster a world built on understanding and respect. Until next time, stay compassionate and keep spreading kindness.